Hey everyone, today I have a little bit of time and I want to talk about violence. Hopefully we can take some time to have a discussion here about our views on violence, when it should be used, how it should not be used, when to use it, when not to use it, all sorts of things like this. And I also want to give a bit of my perspective on violence, and you'll see this coming through a bit of a Norse pagan lens, as many of the things that they give you, right? And two of the reasons why I want to talk about this today is probably the first one. I see violence has been coming into my feed so much. And maybe because I've been getting more into the ongoings of the world here recently in these past couple of years. And the world is an extremely violent place. For various reasons, it is an extremely violent place. There are some places that are much safer than others, and there are some places that are much more dangerous than others. Here in America, you'll find the inner city areas to be much more dangerous, and you'll find ghettos in those areas, in those ghettos, in the ghetto culture. Holy shit, I want to make a video about why I hate YNs. I need to make a video about that soon. But it is this type of ghetto culture that goes in and is just generating so much violence. And I see a lot of this on things like Instagram now, because that is pretty much everything that is in my feed. Violence, a lot of terrible racist things are in my feed as well. If you're on Instagram, you probably know how it goes, right? But also the second reason why I want to talk about this is because I was reading through the Havamal, which is a book that I believe everyone should get. Even if you're not Norse pagan, it teaches you a lot of good social wisdoms. So, that being said, there is a spell that Odin knows, the 8th spell that he knows. And he says that all men should know this spell, for it would benefit every man that knows it. And this spell deals with the hatred, that when hatred springs forth in the hearts of men, you should be the one to step up to soothe it. And these are the two things that I really want to talk about today, is that for one, there is so much fucking violence in the world. There is so much violence in the world. And secondly, and more importantly, there is always the opportunity for you to step up and do something about it, whether it is directly or indirectly. You can always do something about violence, about hatred. And no matter where you are in the world, you know, there is a lot of violence happening in the Middle East, as there always is, right? There's a lot of violence that is happening in America, as there always is. There's a lot of violence happening in Europe. There is violence happening everywhere. And I think one of the ways that we can really help to change things is to affect how both ourselves and inspiring others to deal with violence accordingly. And everyone has their own views on how violence should be taken care of. I have my views, right? I'm an American, and I don't like it. I do not like it at all when I see people being unnecessarily violent. I don't like that at all. Like, for example, like the few times that I've seen somebody hit somebody else for no reason, for no good reason, like the domestic abuse cases where a man is hitting a woman or a woman is hitting a man. No, that is not okay. That is not okay. I understand that men, I understand that sometimes there are some really shitty women that will beat on us. That is not okay. If that is happening, please get some help. Please get some help. The same thing for our women. If there is a man in your life that is doing these things to you, please, for the love of all the gods, find a way to get some help. And back to the men. If you ever see anything like this, or God forbid you are one of the people that does this, what are you doing? You know, if you see anything like this happening, right? You see somebody being beat, if you see somebody being absolutely berated for no reason, and you're not stepping up, and you're not doing anything to protect someone that is weaker than another, what are you doing? What are you doing as a man? Why are you not standing up and doing something for the person that you see is in trouble? For when we stand by and we idly stand and do nothing, what does our heart say to us? What does our mind say to us? What does our God or gods say to us? And I understand that sometimes there are many things that stand between you and doing what is right. But if you let those things continue to get in the way, or even just one time, that could cost somebody's life. And not as importantly, it could risk your consciousness for the rest of your life. The regret of not standing up and being a man to protect somebody. Now, violence in the world is extreme. There are people everywhere that are stabbing the fuck out of people for no reason. And this goes into a whole lot of other topics that are not necessarily for this video, whether it is these mass immigrations that are happening across the world, violence spikes in these areas where this happens, right? There are multiple culture clashes across the world right now. And of course, this is going to result in some sort of conflict. But there's also homegrown violence. There is homegrown violence everywhere. And I know that you see it. It's awful. It is awful, especially my people that live in inner city areas. It's everywhere. I work in an inner city area and in a realistically a pretty ghetto part of it as well. And it's awful. As some of you might know, I'm a teacher. And seeing what some of these kids have to go through in their lives is horrid. And I wish I could do more to step in, legally, right? More to step in legally and do something for these kids. But there is something that is just ailing, a true ailment in a handful of the cultures across the world that is the source of so much violence. And I really want to hear your guys' thoughts as to how you think we could remedy this. Remedy this type of violence that is pervading these types of cultures and coming into our own as we have to protect ourselves from such violence. And the way that I feel so fervently about this, it almost makes me feel radical in a way, because I do not see enough other people that are willing to stand up and do something about the violence, about the hatred, about the just sheer amount of crime that is going on in the world, especially just here at home. There's so much. And I am unsure as to where a lot of our spirit as a species has gone. Here in America, so many people are willing to just lay their lives down for nothing. I understand fear. I do get that. I understand that fear in a situation is crippling at times. But like the whole situation with Irina Zarutska, I think about that a lot. I know that none of us in the audience really knew her, unless you did. And if you did, I'm sorry. It is awful. But for the love of the gods, people will see something awful and do absolutely nothing. People will ignore things. And for some, maybe it is a fear of our own justice system that they'll be the ones that get persecuted for trying to stand up and do something, because that shit happens in places like the UK, where people are getting arrested for defending themselves. Like, what the fuck are they doing over there? They're cucking themselves out to violence. I hate that word so much, but it is true. There are so many people in the world that are letting themselves be hurt, letting their families be hurt. God forbid, they're letting themselves be killed for no reason. And that not standing up to do anything about the bad things in the world are the things that let the bad things happen in the world, because no one is trying to stop it. And maybe I'm getting a little heated because, my bad, I did not have as much time there as I thought. But to wrap this video up, yes, I think this is a good transition for me. The way I view violence and the way I believe it should be used, especially through my Norse lens, is almost specifically in defense of others, right? I really believe in peace through strength. However, if there is somebody or something that is directly challenging the life of you or your people, your loved ones, your friends, or even a stranger, right? That you wish nothing but well, then maybe then violence should be used. But that is not to say that people should be vigilantes and going out in essentially doing the same thing that those that we believe to be violent, that we see to be violent, are doing the same thing as them. I don't know if that is truly the way to get past this. It may help in the short term. It may help in some aspects in the long term. But I don't think vigilantism, which it is the word, is the correct way. But instead, a strong defense of yourself, a strong defense of your own boundaries, but also going out, stepping over to help protect other people, other people's boundaries. For their boundaries are sometimes our own. There is a shared type of yearning for peace and love, prosperity that many of us do have. But there is also a group and multiple groups of people that have a shared hatred, a shared uh, despising, a shared loathing for the types of things that we want as a people, as a society here in the West, and probably as well as in the East and in the Middle East and everywhere across the world. There are these two opposing forces of order, chaos, and both may be necessary, right? The city means nothing if there are no walls to separate it from what is outside. It is much like a cell in biology. If there is no encapsulating area to differentiate the cell from the chaos of the natural world outside, then there then there is no difference between what makes us who we are and what makes the violent people who they are. So my big thing here is, I'm not saying that anybody should go out and be violent, but you should know when to use violence. You should learn how to be violent. All men should know how to be violent, but they should also know when to be violent and learn how to respect the violence that you can cause. Because those people that do not respect the violence that they cause are the ones that go out and murder and rape and do all the nasty, terrible things that they do. They have no respect for their violence. They have no respect for others. But yes, that wraps up what I really want to say today. I'm running out of storage on my phone. So, as always, my friends, find a way or make one.